Hello, and welcome to the Toshogu Podcast, where we break down the latest news, breakthroughs, and ideas shaping the future of artificial intelligence. Today, we are looking at a really fascinating shift happening right beneath our feet. The entire AI market is basically fracturing into these distinct strategic layers. So intelligence itself is getting cheaper, but actual heavy usage is becoming this massive premium. And on top of that, capabilities are being locked behind these really strict permissions. And the raw compute required to run it all is, well, it's transforming into a massive institutional asset. Let's begin.
It really is a complete structural transformation, because for a long time, the industry just assumed that the cost of accessing AI and the cost of using AI were, well, fundamentally the exact same thing.
Right. Like you pay for the model, you use the model. Simple.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we are now seeing this massive divergence between those two concepts. And I mean, to understand where this is all going, we really have to start at the foundational layer, which is how the raw cost of intelligence is shifting in ways that, frankly, almost no one predicted.
So let's ground this with a specific example, because I want to look at what Anthropic is doing right now. Their pricing model feels totally counterintuitive to me.
Oh, for sure?
Yeah, they have this model, Claude Sonnet 5, which is heavily used for what the industry calls agentic workflows. And just for anyone listening who isn't, building software every day, an agentic workflow basically means an AI that doesn't just chat with you. It goes off, plans a multi-step task, clicks around, and actually executes it.
Right. It acts as an agent on your behalf.
Exactly. And Anthropic actually had a planned price increase for this model coming up in September, but they just completely reversed course and made their introductory pricing permanent.
Yeah, they did. They locked it in at $2 per million input tokens and $10 per million output tokens. They just entirely abandoned that planned increase.
Wait, let's pause and translate that for a second. Because for the listener trying to map this to their own business, a token is roughly a piece of a word, right? Like maybe a syllable.
Yeah, pretty much. You can think of a token as the fundamental unit of thought for a language model.
Yeah.
So it takes tokens to read your prompt, which is the input, and it generates tokens to give you an answer, the output.
Okay, got it.
So $2 to process 1 million tokens of input is staggeringly cheap. I mean, you could feed the model several massive books for pocket change.
Wow.
Yeah, so by freezing this price, Anthropic is basically keeping an incredibly capable mid-tier model at a bargain basement rate.
Which obviously puts immense pressure on anyone else trying to sell models that do execution work. But here's the part that feels like a massive contradiction to me.
Okay.
While that underlying intelligence is getting cheaper, you have OpenAI moving in the exact opposite direction at the product layer.
Right.
They just rolled out this ChatGPT Business Premium seat. And we're not talking about a $5 bump here. It is $125 a month, or, $100 a month if you pay annually.
Which is essentially 5 times the cost of their standard annual seat.
Exactly. So how does that make any sense? The raw tokens are getting cheaper, but the monthly subscription to actually use the tool is quintupling in price.
Well, it comes down to what you get in exchange.
Yeah.
Because with that new business premium tier, OpenAI gives you 5 times the usage capacity. And critically, they completely remove that frustrating 5-hour usage limit.
Oh, interesting. It's like walking into a restaurant where the raw ingredients, the food itself, is incredibly cheap, almost free even, but suddenly renting the table costs you $100 an hour.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
That bizarre dynamic is playing out in real time. And what's fascinating here is the strategic implication. I mean, raw model intelligence, the underlying capability to process those tokens is commoditizing rapidly.
Right.
And it's getting cheaper and faster to generate a unit of thought. But high-intensity usage, the continuous heavy integration of AI into a professional's daily workflow, that is exactly what vendors want to monetize now.
I see. So they basically don't care if you just want to ask a trivia question once a week. They are targeting the power users who are sitting at that table all day long.
Precisely. They are monetizing the intensity of the work, not just the access to the model. I mean, if you are a financial analyst and you're running hundreds of complex data queries every single day, you will happily pay that $125 because the value you extract from it is immense.
Okay, but if the raw intelligence itself is getting so cheap, it seems to me like companies can't just compete on having the quote-unquote smartest model anymore. Like, if the model itself is a commodity, how do they defend their business?
By competing on where that model actually lives. This is a crucial pivot for the entire industry. The battlefield is shifting away from the standalone model and moving to the environment surrounding it.
You mean moving away from the traditional chat window? Because we've all gotten so used to, opening a separate tab, pasting in some text, and asking an AI to summarize it or whatever. But you're saying that behavior is on the way out.
I am, yeah. We are seeing a massive, massive migration from chat windows to embedded agents. Look at what Google is doing right now, for instance.
Right. What are they doing?
Well, they are taking their agentic AI and weaving it directly into their revenue-generating workflows, specifically Google Ads and Google Analytics.
Okay, paint a picture of that for the listener. Like, if you're a marketing director managing a massive budget, what does this actually look like in practice?
It means the AI isn't just a chatbot sitting in the corner of your screen waiting for a prompt anymore. We are talking about AI overviews that automatically highlight meaningful changes in your analytics without you even having to ask.
Wow.
Yeah. And we're talking about personalized AI insight cards generated right inside your Google Ads dashboard. They actually just introduced this feature called Ask Advisor for deeper analysis.
Ask Advisor.
Yeah, you can literally prompt it within the platform to instantly generate visual dashboards. You can even benchmark your current ad performance against anonymized similar businesses in your sector.
That's wild. So it is entirely integrated into the system where the marketer is already making their financial decisions. You don't have to export data, take it to an AI tab, and bring the insights back. The AI is it's just there.
Exactly. The intelligence meets you where you work.
Mm-hmm.
And AWS is doing something remarkably similar right now, but they're doing it at the infrastructure layer for developers.
Oh, yeah. I saw AWS just made a massive update to their Bedrock platform. But to be honest, I was struggling to see how it differs from Google's approach. What are they actually doing at the foundational level?
So AWS is embedding intelligence directly into the cloud architecture itself. They just added live web search on Amazon Bedrock, specifically for the GPT 5.4, 5.5, and 5.6 models.
And they have internal names for those, right?
Yeah, they refer to them internally as Sol, Terra, and Luna.
Okay, stop there for just a second. Why is it a big deal that an AI model in AWS can search the web? I mean, couldn't I already do that in a normal chat interface?
Well, you could, sure. But doing it inside AWS Bedrock comes with a critical enterprise feature, which is zero data egress.
Zero data egress. Break that down for me. What does that mean?
So egress just means data leaving a network. In a normal chat interface, if you ask an AI to analyze your company's highly sensitive financial data and then compare it to live web results, your proprietary data has to actually leave your secure environment.
Right. It goes to the AI provider's servers.
Exactly. And then it comes back.
Yeah.
And most enterprise security teams will absolutely veto that. It's a huge risk.
Mm.
But zero data egress means the AI operates entirely inside your company's private, secure cloud walls.
Oh, I see.
The intelligence comes to your data. Your data never leaves to find the intelligence.
Oh, that is massive for enterprise adoption because security is usually the #1 bottleneck when a company is trying to roll this stuff out.
It is, absolutely, and they are pushing it even further. AWS is adding dedicated Bedrock Agent Core runtime instances.
What does that give you?
Basically, developers get predictable, dedicated server performance, specifically for running these complex AI agents. And perhaps most importantly, they are adding vector search directly inside DynamoDB.
Okay, I keep hearing this term vector search and vector databases thrown around. For a business leader listening to this, why does a vector database matter more than just a traditional database?
Well, traditional databases organize information in tables, right? Like a massive spreadsheet.
Yeah.
You search by exact keywords, but an AI doesn't think in exact keywords.
Right, it's more contextual.
Exactly. It thinks in concepts and relationships. So a vector database translates your company's data into numbers, which we call vectors, that represent the actual meaning of the data.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so by putting vector search directly into DynamoDB, which is this massive, widely used AWS database, they are essentially giving the AI an instant conceptual memory that sits right next to the company's operational records.
I see the logic there, totally. But let me challenge this a bit.
Sure.
If I am embedding deeply integrated AI into the core of my enterprise databases, and it has access to my most sensitive operational records, my very next thought is security. I mean, the stakes are so much higher than a chatbot writing a marketing email. If these models are that embedded, how are the companies building the frontier AI actually securing the capability itself?
That tension you just identified, that is driving the most intense debate in the industry right now, is this clash between open versus controlled access to superintelligence.
Yeah.
Because you're right, as AI integrates into critical enterprise systems, the security around the most advanced models must be airtight. It is no longer just a theoretical safety debate happening in academic think tanks. It is a fundamental product and distribution strategy.
Which brings us to OpenAI's expansion of their Daybreak program.
Yes.
They just introduced a model called GPT 5.6 Cyber. And from what I understand, they are structuring the access to this in a very specific, highly gated way, right?
They are. They have split the architecture into two distinct tiers. So first, you have Daybreak Blue, which provides these frontier general-purpose models strictly for approved offenders.
Okay.
And then you have Daybreak Red, which features highly specialized cybersecurity models meant for authorized vulnerability research, exploit validation, and deep security testing.
Now, notice the language there. Approved, authorized. Let's translate that. What does an approved defender actually look like? Because they clearly aren't just putting a credit card form on a website and letting anyone spin up Daybreak Red to look for software vulnerabilities.
No, not at all. OpenAI is distributing these capabilities entirely through highly trusted, vetted partners. We are talking about major global security and consulting firms.
Like who?
People like Accenture, IBM, Palo Alto Networks, CrowdStrike, and Cloudflare.
Oh, wow. So OpenAI is treating this frontier capability almost like highly classified defense technology.
Essentially, yes.
Like, you need identity checks, you need sector clearances, you need an established corporate partnership to even get your hands on the model in the first place.
Yes. They believe that high-risk, high-value capability must be distributed through strict verification and permissions, rather than just giving general public access. But as you know, there is a fierce counterargument to this approach, which is championed most notably by Meta.
Right. Mark Zuckerberg recently published a philosophy on this on August 10th that sits on the exact opposite end of the spectrum. He is arguing for broadly distributed access to superintelligence. He's basically treating this technology more like the printing press, arguing that it's actually much safer if everyone has it. It acts as a sort of decentralized balance of power strategy.
It is a remarkable competitive tension to watch unfold. Meta genuinely believes that a single, centralized, permission-gated system is a bottleneck for innovation, and perhaps a danger in itself because it creates a single point of failure or a single point of control.
So if you're a developer right now, you sort of have to choose between a world where the best models are locked in a vault and handed out by security clearance versus a world where the code is open sourced and just handed to the crowd.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But practically speaking, for the enterprise market today, OpenAI's approach shows that powerful models are no longer binary. They aren't simply released or unreleased. They are gated by identity, by your sector, and by specific use case controls.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit and look at the physical toll this all takes. Because we have raw models getting cheaper, high-intensity usage getting heavily monetized, agents embedding themselves into massive corporate databases, and frontier capabilities requiring permission-only defense-level security infrastructure.
It's a lot.
It is. And running all of that for millions of power users simultaneously requires physical hardware on a scale I just don't think most people comprehend. You can't just buy a few more GPUs to handle that kind of load.
You really can't. And that brings us to the utility phase of compute. This is where the sheer physics and the finance of AI completely take over the conversation.
Yeah.
The main constraint on the industry is no longer just writing clever software, it is physical infrastructure.
Right.
Nvidia actually recently made a massive announcement that signals a total shift in how AI hardware is built and funded.
Yeah, I saw this. Nvidia is essentially trying to turn compute into financeable infrastructure. They announced partnerships with some of the biggest financial institutions in the world. I'm talking Apollo, BlackRock, Blackstone, Brookfield, Goldman Sachs, and KKR.
Massive players.
Huge. And the goal, they stated, is to mobilize more than $500 billion of third-party capital for AI infrastructure. $500 billion. Why do they need that much outside money?
Because of the economic shift in how technology is procured today. For the past few years, the biggest constraint on AI was simply getting your hands on the physical GPUs. And the tech giants were funding these enormous compute deployments directly from their own corporate balance sheets. They were literally just spending their own cash.
But I mean, even a $1 trillion tech company can only do that for so long before they run out of liquidity.
Exactly. Nvidia realizes that for AI to scale to the level of global enterprise integration we just discussed, GPU infrastructure has to start behaving like an institutional infrastructure asset.
Wow.
It needs to be financed externally, deployed at a massive scale, and backed by long-duration usage demand. It is no longer like buying a bunch of laptops for your employees. It is exactly like financing and building a power plant or a toll road.
So the barrier to entry for a tech company has moved from just being able to buy a server to needing the capital structuring of a small nation.
Pretty much.
But it's not just the money, right? When you build physical infrastructure at that scale, you actually hit the physical limits of the natural world.
You do. The new limiting factors for AI expansion are electricity, water, municipal permitting, and public acceptance.
Let's actually talk about the water aspect, because I think a lot of listeners might be confused by that. Why on earth does an AI data center need water?
Because of evaporative cooling. These massive clusters of GPUs running intensive AI calculations generate an unbelievable amount of heat. You simply cannot cool them with standard air conditioning.
It's just not enough.
No, it would melt. You have to use specialized cooling towers that evaporate millions of gallons of water just to pull the heat away from the servers.
Which perfectly explains what is happening in Texas right now with these massive new data center developments. Both OpenAI and Meta are having to address the municipal costs of these facilities. In fact, Meta explicitly came out and committed to covering the full energy, water, wastewater, and grid infrastructure costs of their facilities in Texas, rather than passing those costs on to the local consumers.
And they have to do that voluntarily, because if an AI data center drains a town's water supply or spikes the local electricity rates for residents, public acceptance vanishes overnight. And without public acceptance, local governments will not issue the permits to build. The AI infrastructure race is literally becoming a municipal public policy and regulatory issue, not just a software issue.
It is genuinely mind-blowing to think about artificial intelligence technology directly impacting municipal wastewater management.
But that is the physical reality of the scale we are at.
Yeah.
So let's tie all of these strategic layers together for the listener. We've explored the cheaper raw intelligence, the segmented premium usage tiers, the deep database embeddings, the highly controlled security clearances, and now this institutionalized physical infrastructure. If you are a listener who is actually building in this space, if you are an entrepreneur or an enterprise leader trying to create a product today, how do you navigate this fracturing market?
Well, you have to fundamentally change the primary metric you use to measure success.
Okay.
For a long time, builders obsessed over the API price, the raw cost per token. But that is the wrong metric now. The single most important metric for builders today is the cost per completed acceptable business outcome. Break that down. Cost per completed acceptable business outcome. What does that mean in practice?
It means that if you just chase the cheapest cost per token, you might end up with a cheaper model that hallucinates slightly more often. Or maybe it fails to follow a complex multi-step instruction perfectly.
Right.
If that happens, and it requires a human employee to step in and spend 20 minutes fixing the AI's mistakes, that cheap model is actually incredibly expensive to your business.
I see. So a slightly more expensive model per token might actually be dramatically cheaper for the company overall if it requires zero human correction and gets the complex task right on the very first attempt.
Exactly. Builders need to exploit the price compression happening at the bottom layer by maintaining architectures that are completely agnostic to the model provider. You want to build your software so you can swap models in and out effortlessly, depending on which one gives you the most reliable final outcome for that specific task.
So if you're building a product today, your goal should actually be to make the underlying AI model totally invisible to your customer. You don't market the model. You use whatever intelligence gives you the best finished outcome, and you build your competitive moat entirely around the workflow itself.
I completely agree. Relying on model access alone is an incredibly weak moat today because intelligence is commoditizing. Differentiated value is migrating upwards.
Yeah.
It is moving into the workflow, the proprietary context and data you provide the AI, the distribution channels, and most importantly, customer trust. If you are building a product, you shouldn't be selling access to an AI model. You should be selling the frictionless completion of a task.
Right.
The user shouldn't even need to know how to ask the right prompt. The intelligence should automatically surface inconsistencies in their work, recommend next actions, and just make the workflow flawless.
Because if the capability of the AI is truly becoming baseline infrastructure, like just plugging an appliance into electricity out of a wall socket, the only thing that actually matters to the consumer is the appliance you built, not the power plant generating the electricity.
Which leaves us with something quite profound to consider, honestly.
Oh.
If raw intelligence truly becomes as commoditized, ubiquitous, and invisible as electricity, what happens to human creativity?
Wow, yeah.
Do we entirely stop valuing the thinking behind a task and only value the final polished product?
Hmm.
Or does human-generated friction, the visible effort, the mistakes, the unique quirks of human creation, does that suddenly become a highly sought-after premium luxury in a world of entirely frictionless AI-generated outcomes?
That's all for today's episode of the Toshogu Podcast. If you enjoyed it, like this episode, subscribe, and join us next time for the latest in AI. Until then, keep building what outlives you.